Bracket racing isn't just what we do, it's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket life. Hello, and welcome back to the Bracket Life broadcast. Once again, episode 11. Awesome to be here. As always, with my co-host, Andrew. Nice to have you back.
Welcome to be here.
And Travis made it back from back from the West Coast, but coming to us live from the West Coast, or kind of almost there in Alberta. Excellent, Travis. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's always
Absolutely.
a pleasure. Yes,
sir. We're going to have lots of results going on, right? There's been a lot of racing now that we're starting in June. So that's, we wanted Travis to come here, talk a little bit about what's going on. As much as Andrew and I, we can voice our opinions and whatever that's happening west of us. It's a lot more fun and better if we have somebody else with the real experience here. So we're ready for it.
Boots on ground who can actually talk about it versus everything else that we can try to do on the internet on our end, right? So
yes, sir. So starting off this week's sponsor for the show, that's a rough start. Ogilvy's Auto and Fleet Service. My in-laws, Mike and Vicky, supporting us, keeping us going. There's a lot going on. We've talked about this before. They're Canadian dealers for FTI performance, torque converters, transmissions, transmission parts, accessories, stuff like that. Andrew knows all about that. We just ordered a converter today.
Yeah,
got it
an
set up
8-inch
for
a new 565 coming in.
Yes, absolutely. So we had the build sheet, took all the information there, got Andrew put the engine on the dyno, so we were able to really make a more educated decision on what's going to work for the application that we're getting set up for. So any questions with that, shoot me a message. Call the number below, 613-283-7444. As well as K&R Performance Engineering products, delay boxes, switch panels, wiring kits, everything like that. Air compressor kits. Excellent tool. I think not every race car, but majority of race cars should have their own compressor on if you're using enhanced or things like that. And Jones transmission pumps. Great product. Keep the transmission cool. Keep it consistently cool, same temperature every time. I use mine on both dragsters religiously.
Yeah, but you treat your cars like a stock car too, right? So you're going in circles 24/7.
I do, especially last weekend. I abused Daniel's car, is what it is. Yeah, kept it cool. Got it down to, I got to get it down to like 110 every round in between after 10 minutes of sitting. So
they work crazy good. I've watched your stuff and I've seen others, and it's amazing how well those things work. So
absolutely. So thank you, Ogilvy's Auto and Fleet Service, all the support, Mike and Vicky. We appreciate it. Appreciate everybody helping keep the show going. Means a lot to us. So we'll roll through. Now we'll start the Canadian countdown. as I said earlier, lots of racing going on. So this is it's a bulky part of it. Like I think we have 3 pages of notes now. Like this is a little spaced out.
But now that everything's running, there's a lot going on, right? And everything seemed to all happen at the same time. Quebec seems like they've been racing for about a month, and Ontario just kicked in, and when they did, boy, everybody got running.
Absolutely. So because I'm talking, I'll just start. 2 weeks ago, we went to Naperville Dragway. That was the 28th, 29th. Not a great weekend for me, is what it is. Saturday just got beat up. I raced Rick 1, and I'm he was 3 dead 2 against me. Just wasn't a good lap for me. And,
couldn't get inside that, eh?
No. I would say that I tried, but if you looked at my slip, I did not. So I ended up lost Rick, lost the next round. There was an accident that night on the track. Brian Acker had crashed the Dodge. I think it's an Omni.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Wiped that out. Unfortunately, Saturday night. Later on, had his flywheel come apart, ripped off. I've actually got pieces of it sitting in the back of my golf cart still. Ripped up, tore the transmission lines apart, and had wiped out later on down the track. So we called it for a night Saturday, finished both races, like the rest of Saturday's race Sunday morning, and then ran Sunday's event after. I did not have luck in Sunday's race either. So Saturday, Super Pro, Rick Arnold winning over Tim Quinton. The Americans are back. Apparently everybody's really close to Vermont at Naperville.
Yeah.
So Tim Quinton coming back over. He gets the runner-up. And then Sunday, another American attack there, Mark Goyette, who is 20 minutes from the border, he said, and an hour from, I want to say it takes him an hour and 20 minutes from Vermont to get to Naperville, wherever he lives. So he's got an easy drive.
That's a simple one.
Took the win Sunday, Super Pro over Daniel Langto. Junior results that I have, Maverick Angers wins both days in junior dragster.
Runs the table.
Tearing it up. And then last weekend, 2 days ago, we were in Lustville, finished the 5K race from the long weekend when we had, the whole tornado situation come through. Travis, did you see that stuff? I sent you those videos, right?
Yeah, I saw them on Facebook, and we chatted a little bit after. That was crazy.
Yeah. It was a thrilling time. That's the word I'm still using for it. But we got to finish that race up for the 5K. We did that Saturday night. I ran Mike Chenier first. Was able to get by him. He had some engine troubles during the run, and then I had to race Kyle Jessup after that. Got through him in his dragster and in the roadster to take the win. So, I had gained that 5K victory Saturday night. Almost got one in the $2,500 race Saturday, and I did lie to everybody apparently about my trans brake issue being fixed. It was not.
And it bit you in the final again?
Semi-final,
right?
Yeah, semi-final, pull up, let go, rolls ahead. So we did find it. So the one little connector, the weather pack connector, was just the connections were loose in it. One wire, because I took them all apart. But one wire was just loose. Nothing was broken, beat up, anything like that. So needless to say, that core connector is now in a ditch somewhere. So I'm not sure where, but it's no longer of use to anybody.
They got launched into the atmosphere and still circling the Earth after that one.
Yeah, that's right. So we took care of that. That run, actually, Terry Miron, who was my opponent in the semis, won the race, or Chris Denique. Both racers were red in the final. Chris in the door car was 12 red to Terry's 4 red. So,
True Start.
And you guys run True Start out there?
Not at Lustville. We don't have True Start. Wouldn't have made a difference, but because Shannonville has True Start.
Okay.
But,
Does it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's how Super Pro was for Saturday. Sunday, I was successful again. Lost 7 cars, though. Good day. Lost to Fred Angers, who would end up going to the final, who would lose to Joel Morgan. in his blown Camaro. Joel has not raced this car in 6 years. Took it out. This is the first weekend back, and he wins on Sunday.
Wow.
So that's the way to do it.
That's the way to come back.
Blow the dust off and just let it go.
Yeah.
That was good. Semi-pro, Danny Sproul won over Russ Frazier on Saturday. Russ came back, sealed the deal on Sunday, beat Stephen Valentine in the final. Had the junior stuff. Actually, I'll find the junior stuff. We can move through now. Before we get to the West Coast stuff, Andrew, you got some notes here. Let's talk about those.
So I'll breeze through a few things. We got PDRA. We've been following a lot of PDRA because we had a lot of Canadians running it this start of this season. So that May 27th, 28th at Norwalk was the American Door Slammer Challenge. Smokey's Garage was down there, Spencer Hyde. There was at least 3 or 4 other teams down there. The flag was carried by Sienna Wildguss, which is part of the Smokey's Garage team. She did it in the pro junior dragster, which is 790. She got to the semis. Tough weekend for a few folks down there. There was some great laps, but just not in eliminations. Did everything work out? Watch. St. Thomas had their season opener the same weekend, May 20th, 29th. My notes are a little limited on this one, but top ET winner on Saturday was John Hutchinson. John owns Hutch's Transmission in London. Big supporter of Western Canadian racing. I know he does a lot of work out there. Big supporter of a lot of the tracks around here. He sponsors some classes up at Grand Bend. Owen Henderson and Maud with a big win over Will Steckley. Will's a legendary racer out this way, does a ton of no-box racing. 2-time world champion in IHRA, actually. So it's a lot of world championships out this way between Will and Steve and Dornbosch. But great final for Owen. Great racers. There's 2 brothers, Owen and Wyatt, and those guys, they're scary now when you see them rolling into the lanes, right? Sunday, Harry Goosens. I was talking to Harry at Grand Bend actually this past weekend. Rolled into St. Thomas because he could not handle not racing anymore, and he could not wait for Grand Bend's opener. Rolls down to St. Thomas, takes the win in top. Maud in the Sunday final. Our buddy Drew Buchner, 660 Sportsman Nationals, wheels the Camaro to a final against Will Steckley. Monster matchup. Not one of those finals I would want to be part of in the sense of being either lane against either one of those guys, but huge win for Drew on that one. I don't have any juniors, street or bike. If I can get my hands on those notes and some of those, we'll gladly get them on here. I just don't have it at the time of the show. Race Cayuga Sportsman Series, Toronto Motorsports Park, kicked off this past weekend, same weekend as Grand Bend. Saturday winners, we got Speedy Auto Machine Jr., Jack Snell over Cole Ferrari, Junior Dragster Concy, Joanna Thompson over Brandon Firstel. There's a bit of a family theme throughout the weekend of this one, with a lot of kids and parents going to finals and doing well. So Joanna's dad's going to be featured later on here. ICD Insurance Modified, super stock driver Dave Druitt. I love this when I watch the class cars show up and run in brackets and do well. Dave with the win over Peter Borse. Final win to the Designs Quick Sportsman. Tim Knight over Steve Firstel. Big win for Tim. First time winning Quick Sportsman. Quick Sportsman for us is it's a lot like our like a quick 16 style class. So it's 890 or faster. So a lot of great cars there. They had a great turnout. Quite a few actually top sportsman cars too, shaking stuff down, racing, getting ready for our Stratford Spectacular that's coming up in a few weeks. So it was neat looking at the results on that one. Caledonia Tire, Bike and Sled, Todd Hope over Kyle Van Beek. There's a bike Conti class, Murray Lonsbury over Jason Stewart. OK Tire Foot Brake. I love this one. Chevy Lightheart, great name, repping the 88 Chevy S10, taking the win over Bill Thompson in that final. I don't think Chevy could drive anything else other than a Chevy. That'd just be inappropriate, wouldn't it? Right? Great win for those guys. Glad to see them do well. Great to see Bill out, new motor, running well. Kovar Concrete Super Pro. My buddy Bullet Bob Jennings from Gray County, my neighbor to the north. We finally got him straightened out. He's in a door car. He's running off the bottom and the top bulb, and he's winning in both. He takes the win over Casey Kovacs. another good buddy in his dragster. It was a great matchup. I looked at the results on it. They were within 3 thou even on the tree. Bob's going 980s in a door car, Casey 760s in a dragster. And it was a great, I watched the final on Race Cuga's Facebook. They actually did a live stream of it, I believe. It was great to be able to watch it. And then Niagara Custom Powder Coating Street Eliminator. Austin Harvey, 88 GMC, taking the win over Tate and Summerfield, who was moonlighting in street. His race truck's not done. So he grabs the street truck, goes to the track, goes to the final. Sunday, Cole Ferrari gets things sorted out, takes the junior dragster win over Connor Donaldson. Maya James over Jack Snell in the Consi. Modified Ken Dennis over Mark Menikanen. Mark's a legendary racer in mod, multi-time mod champion. That was a big final. Great job for Ken. Vinyl Window Designs, Quick Sportsman. Casey Kovacs figures it out in the double, gets the W on Sunday in Quick over Little Joe Ferrari in his Roadster. Caledonia Tire Bike Sled, Jason Stewart over Todd Hope in his second final. A lot of guys carrying momentum, right? That'll be a key thing we talk about in our next guest coming up here over momentum and going to lots of finals. Cal Van Beek over Gary DeLue. Bill Thompson gets it figured out in foot brake, takes the Sunday win over Aaron Felstein. Corville Concrete Super Pro. So we converted Mike or Bullet Bob back to a door car. Unfortunately, when that happens in the world, sometimes a guy from a door car goes to a dragster. Mike Newman, legendary guy in super stock out in Quebec, had a door car for years, goes to the dark side, gets a dragster, but he gets it figured out on Sunday, wins over my buddy Bullet Bob in the door car. Another great final, dragster versus door car. So Bob's on a roll this year. And street, Sam Snap over Frank Hood. Great final round. Grand Bend. This was a fun weekend. So this is where I started my year off. We went testing on Friday. Hadn't shook any of the cars down. Grabbed the fleet, go up there. Great Friday testing. Got to do the dad thing though. Saturday morning, my daughter has her first recital. So somehow I get myself home and I got to figure out how I'm going to go from recital at 10 a.m. to get to Grand Bend by what I figure is 1 p.m. first round. And I was only off by 15 minutes and I booked it. I don't think statute of limitations is done yet, so I can't reveal the speeds that might have been needed to get from where I was to Grand Bend Motorplex for round one. But I got there just in time to get both cars off the trailer, sneak a time trial in top ET. Did absolutely nothing on Saturday. Managed to get myself in nothing but trouble. Had a great post on that one. Apparently stopping is not a forte of my own because taking way too much stripe was the key part. But some other people did win. Maple City Tire Mod had Kenny Hebert over Will Steckley. Another great start for a year in Will. Unfortunately, he's been a bridesmaid 3 races in a row, but Will's going to get things sorted out. Hutch's Transmission Top ET had Caden Wickie over Brad Talbot. This is a fun one. So Brad goes off the bottom, foot braking, and he's in the final and top. And I'm telling you, top at Grand Bend's a fast class. There's a lot of quick cars up there. So he's knocking out the top bulb, gets himself to the final, and he was in the semis of mod. So great start to his year there. Washington Pools Concrete Solutions Bike Sled, David Duvall with the win. Fox's Auto Sound Street, Jeff Talbot, Brad's brother, who is the sons of Jay Talbot, last year's mod champion. So there's some great lineage there and great results. Tommy's Motors Outlaw 330, Brody Brown. Canco Fuels Junior Advanced, Ethan Birch got the W. Rockstead Extreme 32, Dean Schwimler. Big win for Dean. CSN Collision Open Comp was Chris Jones. And Junior Consi, Zoe Gald. On Sunday, the only winner was Mother Nature when she rained us out in round 4. We were rolling, races were going good, and the skies decided to open up, and that was it for us. So we split the purse, and everyone went home disappointed. Other than those who were still in the split. There's no disappointment about that.
That's a crappy way to end Sunday.
It kind of was, and I'll be honest with you. And just like every time you call a race, they stopped raining, and it felt like there was a window to get it done. I will never question a racetrack for calling it because I've had to do it myself. And almost inherently, every time you say we're done, that's exactly when it'll stop raining. Or you can sit there for 6 hours and let it rain and say we were going to try to finish this, and it won't stop raining. No. So you got to call it and watch it not rain. But it was still a good day. Managed to keep myself in the running, so at least on the end of my story, we figured things out finally, and the cars were finally working. I think I was even sitting on the wait and see buy for round 3 or 4. Was it 3? Yeah, that's what it was. So of course, right?
Yeah.
May have to give me, but let's jump to NHRA Camping World Series. So we always keep our eye on the Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series. We always keep our eye on the Camping World Series, Big Bucks bracket racing. New England was the stop this past weekend. A bunch of Canadian racers did well, and tuners. Jean-Philippe Tremblay, stock eliminator, went to the final. Unfortunately, went red in the final. We've got my favorite new tuner, now that I know he's Canadian, Rob Flynn, the Scrappers team. So Mike Salinas gets to the final, takes the win over Justin Ashley in Top Fuel. And Mike Reynolds, who is Eastern Ontario or Quebec racer?
Ottawa.
So okay, Ontario. Mike got to the semis in Super Street. And did a good weekend. That was tough racing. I was looking at the results on that as it went along, because again, being a 90 guy, I'm watching everything that's 890, 990, 1090. So was glad to see some guys going rounds out there. Bunch of Canadians at Norwalk for the divisional this weekend. Fortunately, was tough racing. Jeff Chatterson went to the final in Top Alcohol Dragster. Big runner-up for him. Was glad to see the boys do well. They've been hanging with a bunch of big teams this year in the places they've gone to in the last even couple years before COVID. Glad to see them get some results on track. So,
Yes,
a lot of
sir.
Canadians rolling.
Absolutely. 1 point, 2 points.
Yes.
Before we get to Travis, I want to talk about Edmonton. I want to talk about racing in Alberta. Junior winners. This was a big focus I wanted to spend on earlier. Leah Monahan and Annabelle Susi were winners Saturday and Sunday. So 2 female junior dragster drivers cleaning up. And we actually have, I believe, I could be correct on this, but I'm like 98% sure we have more female junior dragster drivers at Luskville this year than we do males. We have more girls racing than we do boys. So it's neat.
That's
right?
awesome. Yeah.
It's cool. So it's been awesome, and they're doing great. So they're rolling through. So we have the 2 female winners, and to switch to the PDRA stuff, Jeff Gable, racer, sportsman, best steering crew. Did not do very well. I guess I think he was around 1 loss. I think he said on Facebook. Well, they won best steering crew, so we get good at something.
Can't go wrong with that.
Right? Absolutely, cannot complain. So Trav, let's talk about the West Coast stuff, right? So you started racing. You did the heavy metal 8th mile series at Rad Torque, and then there was the top eliminator race as well.
Yeah, you betcha. So we were out, I think that was the last weekend of May, we kind of started. Cool little deal Chevy Reeves is putting together this year, which is an 8th mile series at Rad Torque Raceway. And it's kind of, a fairly simple format, but he threw in a team aspect to it too. So you kind of have a Champions Cup as far as like a team challenge type thing goes. Most amount of round wins accumulated over the year. And so me and my partner, my dad, and Twa, Braden Oshatua, we got Team Hoosier Daddy, and we went 0 for 6 to start the year. So we got skunked. But Ryan O'Connor, Rock, he didn't get skunked. He cleaned house that weekend. Went to 2 finals. I know one of them was against a guy I used to race a lot of Super Street with, Tony Oswald car. And I can't remember off the top of my head who he beat in the other final. And then this past weekend, we were out for, I think that was the 2nd points race for Top Eliminator this year. And we had a couple of first-time finalists, Fudgy Dansaw, which is, he's actually my Super Street Camaro. He used to own that.
Cool.
So that's who we bought the car that we won the division with and traveled all over with. And he was in a dragster, new to him dragster. I believe it's a Cameron car, basically a TNT. And yeah, he did well. He beat Cody Graves in the final, who's actually, he spent some time racing stock, super stock. He's a 2nd generation racer. And he's in his 2nd dragster now. He had a mishap last year, ended up crashing an American. So he's in a TNT now. And I think this was kind of like Yeah, it was good for him to get over the mountain after being in a crash. He's a young driver, right? And like I said, he'd raced some slower stuff before. Nice cars, like just super stock setups, right? And so yeah, I think he was super grateful to kind of shake the cobwebs and not have any issues racing quarter mile. And then on Sunday, his dad, Joe Graves, he's got a little top sportsman Grand Am. And he took the win over Kelly Ritchie, who's, I think, second-year racer. First time she'd been in the final and hasn't raced a lot of quarter mile. And Kelly and her husband, Trevor, they're really good people. So it was good to see her get to a final. And so, yeah, that's kind of what we had. I didn't race on Saturday this past weekend. I did some testing in the truck. I'm trying to get it dialed in for somebody to drive it here at the Oil City Classic. So I was focused on that, and then Dad came up on Sunday and went a couple rounds. But as was the issue the weekend before at that heavy metal series, just turning it red. We've been having some issues with that this year, so we're trying to get after it.
That's right. Rather be red than late, but give and take, right? Give and take.
I don't know. I've won from behind a few times doing stupid things, so
yeah.
You can't win if you're not green.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So you brought it up, right? You brought up ROC there, Ryan O'Connor with the big weekend for the 8th mile stuff. So leading that into it, let's bring Ryan on. There we go. See, first time going 4 wide now. It's a thrilling time, right? This is exciting now. I had to change the background, so if everybody notices the Wally back there, that's for you guys. It's not for me. That's for everybody else. How's it going, Ryan?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Excellent.
Thanks
Glad to be here. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you
thanks
for coming
having me on, guys.
Thanks for being a part of it. Thanks for taking the time out. I know last night for the getting ready, we spent a lot of time talking. We, have this issue where we have a hard time shutting up to a certain degree.
There's almost a whole pre-show that takes place that should be recorded that in all likeliness is somewhat 18 plus for language, but yeah,
it can be. Absolutely. But great to have you on, Bud. Awesome work, right? You've been rolling through. You've had, well, I guess last weekend, as you said on Facebook, you didn't, wasn't your weekend, but up to that, you were rolling. You went to, this year, started with 4 final rounds and 3 wins. But then you finished off last year and you just kept it rolling from 2 final rounds from the year before, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. Just been trying to keep the electricity over in my lane.
Yes, sir. That's all you can do, right?
Yeah.
So you've done it now. Yeah, the 4 races. So you've raced, put win lights on quarter mile. You've put a lot of win lights on 8th mile. What's your pick? If you're going to pick one, where we're going next weekend, we going 8th mile racing or quarter mile racing?
We're definitely going to be going 8th mile racing. Just with the long track, I just find for myself it's a lot harder on my bank account without all the generous people that help me. I definitely wouldn't be able to do it, but 8th mile is definitely a little bit easier on the wallet, and I just like the look of 8th mile a little bit more than quarter for sure.
I hear you. I'm with you. I 100% agree. I haven't raced. I think it's been at least 5-6 years since I've went the full quarter mile. So, what about you, Trav? What do you think?
I'm all in on 8th mile now. For the same reasons, just easier on parts, and I like the look of 8th mile better. It's quick, it's fun, and it's tight racing.
Absolutely. And then Andrew, because I've asked the other two, I might as well ask you then.
Oh, 1,000 foot all day long. It's the best of both worlds.
There you go.
Vying for that out here forever. Everyone out here is like, should we go 8th or quarter? And I'm like, well, why don't we do the middle? Go to the 1,000, right?
Yeah.
My biggest note on that one was you can't argue over what distance you want to go when you're totally confused about the 1,000 foot, right? Who can be angry and who can be mad, right? So, Ryan, we were talking a bit before last night and or before the show, and I was kind of curious. We didn't get into it too much, but I mean, you've had a great start in your career in the big cars. Travis noted you're a really good junior racer. You had a lot of your success in that as well. What's your background, like family view? Like, how did you guys get started in racing? As you know, your dad been very influential. We were talking. He cruised for a PDRA team, right? What's the family background on racing?
So my dad in high school raced my grandpa Terry's truck. My dad's dad, my grandpa Terry. My dad raced his Ford Ranger in high school, and then ended up getting out of racing for a little bit, just trying to get life going, and then got back into it. Got into a Nova, raced that for a couple of years, and really ever since, the car my dad has right now, he's had this one for the longest, but if anyone knows my dad, Darren O'Connor, everyone knows that he changes cars like unbelievably. So he went from a Nova to a S10 X, an old pro stock truck, to a Top Sportsman Cavalier, to a TNT Dragster, back to a Cobalt Top Sportsman car, to his dragster that he has now. And he's been racing his TNT now that he's had for the last 5 years. And then with my dad racing, that was how I got into racing myself.
So a lot of background then on like a lot of years of background racing for your family before you jumped into a junior, by the sounds of it, even, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
a big part.
Yeah, 100%. My grandpa raced at Rad Torque Raceway, which used to be Castro Raceway, which used to be Budweiser Park. My grandpa raced at Rad Torque Raceway when it used to be Budweiser Park back in the day. So racing's been in the family for quite a long time, for sure.
I like it, and it's very similar to kind of my family dynamic getting into it. We talk because, like, I feel like I'm kind of young. I feel like I look older than what I am. But I'm 26. Like, I feel still kind of young-ish, right? But Ryan, you're only 18, right? So this is only you said your second or third year now
Yeah,
in
third
a
year.
Superco dragster. And so you ran juniors. When did you start? When you were 8?
Yeah, I started juniors when I was 8, and then got a pretty big sponsorship, which helped me pay for my big car when I was 15, and then finished off junior that last year when I was 15. In the meantime, working on my big car, getting it ready for the following season when I turned 16. So.
And Travis, so you've raced with Brian for a long time and kind of seen him grow up. So what was kind of like, how was it watching him go through the juniors and then kind of getting into the big cars and into Super Pro? Like, kind of what's it been like, and kind of how has it been for the transition? I don't know how involved you've been with Brian. It seems like you guys have been close enough, from talking with you. So what have you seen or thought?
Well, yeah, we've been fairly involved. Like, it's funny when Ryan was talking about his dad's first white Nova. That was a real small track, even north of where me and Rutherford live, right? And yeah, Darren's always just been, a really good guy. He's always been a really close friend of mine, and I've watched Ryan grow up at the racetrack, and always a kind of a quiet young kid. And then as we mature and develop as people, kind of noticed, as he was getting older, he was one of the guys that eat, slept, and breathed bracket racing. He loved it, and you could always tell that. He's always, he's always been somebody that has a lot of respect, and everybody respects him and likes Ryan. Ryan's always been a very nice young man, right? And towards the end, as I think we see with a lot of juniors, from my perspective anyway, Ryan was racking a lot of W's, and it was looking pretty easy out there. I always have respected the way that Darren kind of raised Ryan at the racetrack, and that's look after your program, because I've got other things that I want to do. Darren's kind of one of those guys, similar to myself and my dad, that we're in a lot of other people's pits all the time, helping other people with their programs, right? And I think that was, always very important to Darren, and kind of, it had to happen that way. Was Ryan kind of had to be dialed in, and that guy can read a time slip. I'll say that about Ryan right now. He's been able to read a time slip for a long time, and I've always known that. And then when the transition came, I can't say that I remember a lot of specific conversations, but I do remember a lot of conversations being had between myself and Ryan, and my dad included. And I think, as it is for every father-son race team, Ryan needed to hear some things that his dad had the same opinion on, but from other people. And so we would have a lot of conversations about simplifying the program. And I remember being a young racer in Ryan's shoes. You see a lot of things. You see a lot of Hunter Patton things. You see a lot of whoever the name is. Insert the name, Luke Bogacki, whoever you want to insert the name. You see what they're doing, and you want to do it, right? And so one of the big things I noticed in Ryan's maturation process was that he at the end of last year, he really started to simplify his program, and now he's seeing his hard work pay off. So I'm super proud of him, and I'm really, it's really cool to watch the growing process.
I think that tags on there. It was a good point with Ryan. We were talking last night, end of last year. You'd mentioned that you'd made a big change in just kind of how you approached your strategy on racing, right? That was kind of one of those, you had a program that was working for you, but you were losing out on close races, right? So I'd love to hear what you're saying again about what you changed. What approach change did you make where essentially you've changed everything you were doing, and it's led into a whole bunch of success in a row here, right?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the kind words about myself and my dad, Trav. Just towards the end of last year, so this year's my third year in the big car, and at the end of last year, I had some success. My first ever race day, I runnered up, and then ever since then, would go third, fourth round here and there, quarterfinal, semifinal, and would just come up a little bit short. And these races that I was coming up short in, I was coming up 3 thou behind, 2 thou behind. Either I'm getting too cute down there, giving it back, or I'm holding it to the floor and I'm 2-3 thou behind. So just at the end of last season, on the Saturday, we had a top eliminator race at Rad Torque Raceway, and I ended up losing first round on the Saturday race. And then we got into the second rainout day on Saturday night, and I just said, I'm changing what I'm doing dial-in wise. I'm feeling like I'm hitting the tree okay, but just my dial-in, I'm just not getting aggressive enough on my dial-in to where it would slow down, say 1 to 60 feet, and I'm going 15 thou above, matted out the back door, and I'm 2 thou behind. So towards the end of last season, I just decided to get a little bit more aggressive with my dial-in, so to say, and it has ended up taking me to where I am right now, which has led me towards some success for sure.
No doubt.
Yeah.
It sounds like you found the success.
Trying to, yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to add in kind of off what Travis said, or to respond, I guess, to what Travis said. It's really cool to see the relationship and then kids growing up doing it. I feel, Ryan, you and I have a similar experience growing up with mentors that are older than us, 10, 20 years, whatever it is, that really help us out. And then, you get carried away with it, for exactly how Travis said. You see everybody else online, out there, whatever, you're holding 5, 10, however much, doing this, doing that, stuff that we can't do.
Yeah,
Or,
you got your eyes.
you can't do at that point in time.
Yeah.
So then, somebody needs to come over and smack you on the side of the head and, keep it simple, stupid. Right. And so you need those guys. And like Travis said, not always is your dad that guy, because it's like, yeah, all right, whatever you say. Right. But then, when somebody else comes in and kind of brings the reins in a little bit for you, it helps.
Yeah.
So it's awesome to see that. Awesome to see the support, growing up in it. And then, like I said, finding success and moving forward with it. Right. Hopefully it sustains itself. Because, it's always hard. And the more you win, then the harder it is to keep winning, because, not everybody else likes it when you win. So they all try a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Targets you put on backs pretty fast when you start putting final rounds on the board like that, right?
Yeah.
Everyone becomes Superman beside you.
Yeah. No one started racing because they said it was going to be easy. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. Exactly why I got into racing. I was this apparently.
Yeah. So guys, now I kind of want to talk more about what it's like to race with you guys, right? In, I think it's 3 weeks, right around there. We'll say Tuesday. Yeah, pretty well 3 weeks on the dot. Tomorrow, then I will be with you guys at the racetrack, or at least almost at the racetrack, right? So we're flying out, heading to Edmonton. Rachel, myself, and my mom and dad coming for the weekend. So I talked to Travis, obviously, a lot about it, seeing as I'm driving the truck. I would hope that we've had some conversations. But Brian, what is it going to be like? What should I expect when I roll out there, roll into Rad Torque Raceway? How tight should I set up this, that? What's it like racing? Give me a general overview.
Well, watching some of the Bracket Life videos, I think you're going to roll into Rad Torque Race when you're going to think, wow, I got a lot of room here. I don't have to pull onto the starting line and back up into the water box for starters.
Yeah. Absolutely.
For competition wise, I don't think it would really be any different compared to home. I think you just got to stick with what you're comfortable with and just do what you do, because I watch the videos and you know what you're doing. So just come out here and do what you do and you'll do good. I'm sure you will.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. We do the best we can for it. So it'll be a little different, switching out of the dragster into the truck. I mean, the first time I drove in a door car this year. So Trav, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that might be, the biggest adjustment for you. I've obviously never been out there, so I don't fully know what it's like, but I've been around to enough racetracks and raced with bracket racers. I think we're all very similar in a lot of ways, right? I think one thing that you're going to notice, and just through the conversations we've had, is how quickly the weather can change, being this close to the mountains, and the wind is always a big factor at this track, as most West Coast tracks are. And yeah, I think that it's going to be a learning experience, but as Rock said, like, what you're doing, man. It's how to drive the top end, and as long as you're better than teen on the tree, I think you're going to do well here. I think there's a lot of it that it kind of mirrors each other across the country. Like, I think that bracket racing is you got to be good these days, especially when there's money on the line.
North to south, east to west.
Yeah,
it's all the same gig.
Yeah. The age-old discussion, and as Michael Beard is the best one to point it out, right? If you can win here, you can win anywhere, right? That's kind of the deal with it, and everybody says that about their own track. So we'll see. I'm excited. I'm excited to get out there. Excited to hang out with you, well, both of you, meet everybody, and then see what the atmosphere is like. Really spread Bracket Life out in the West. For anybody that is happen to be watching, we are doing pre-orders for all of our Bracket Life stuff. If you want something brought out, tough to ship a bunch of product out there, right? And we can't take it to a storage locker for the weekend for all of our stuff. So if somebody wants something, let us know, put an order in, do the pre-order. We can bring it with us and get it sold if you want, the new shirts hanging out right there. Launched
I was
last
just
weekend.
gonna say you're gonna plug the new stuff, right? So
Yeah,
that's
got it on. So all the new, products. If anybody's interested, let us know. Shoot us a message, and then you have 3 weeks pretty much for that. Before we get to the Oil City race for Travis at Rad Torque Raceway.
So, question for the guy who's going to have to stay home since everyone else is going racing in Edmonton on this stream is: does Rad Torque have a live stream? Is that up and like is that they do have something set up so like guys like me can watch everyone else racing for money in Canada while I don't know if I'm at home that weekend or not, but nonetheless, is that a thing, Travis, or where are we at with that?
Yeah, if you've got a device, the one that we're streaming on right now, if you're on your phone or whatever, it's on their YouTube channel, which is, you just search up Rad Torque Raceway. Make sure you subscribe to it, and I'm sure you'll get some notifications. The whole thing's going to be streamed on there. I don't know. I think, Brandon, we might be able to do some broadcasting on your guys' channel as well, which we're looking to link that up. But if that doesn't pan out, Rad Torque Raceway on YouTube. And it's actually, like, we chatted about it last night. It's come a long way. Like it is just a static camera from a really good angle in the tower, but the quality's pretty good, and you can get the gist of what's going on, and you'll be able to see how things are going.
Excellent. I'm excited for that because there's nothing worse than talking about a buddy going racing and then literally having no ability to watch it when you're engaged in it, right? And I got to admit, I'm engaged in this event. This is probably one of those deals where I'll be at a racetrack somewhere, hopefully still going rounds. I pray to God I am. But at least being able to watch, my buddies out west, or, like this past weekend, we were watching some Dragway 42 racing from Grand Bend because we had some buddies down at Dragway 42 in Ohio, right? So I feel like this is a smooth transition into the conversation of live streaming, right? Drag racing, bracket racing, because this is something that we're seeing more and more of. I'm glad we're going to see it at your events, Travis, because there's nothing I love more than being able to watch Canadian racing, like Canadians racing in the US, but just to see tracks, to see different things going on, right? It's exciting, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, all of our events are going to be live streamed this year, which is, we talked about this last night, and I will segue into it. It's the legitimacy side of things, right? So each one of ours, we're going to have a live stream at. Some are going to be a little bit, higher caliber than others because it's not easy and cheap to do, which I know we're going to get into that too. So it was kind of my goal this year to make sure that all of the classics have some sort of a live stream for, the reasons, like you said, to watch the people you want to. And to me, I just think the atmosphere that we feel, like Ryan was there, he was on the mic when, we've had the conversation about John DeYoung jumping in his son's car and throwing 5 total down in order to head to a final for our 20 grander shootout in Medicine Hat. Like, people need to experience that. And so I'm just super proud that we're going to be able to, it's not always the same being there, but people are going to see that. And, we can have these conversations after the fact on this broadcast and with each other that, hey, do you remember what happened at the Classics this year? So really looking forward to it.
Yeah,
I know. I totally agree. I don't know if you saw the one where we brought the video up on here. Well, yeah, you were on it when we did it in Vegas, and we watched your dad live on the live stream, and then we just brought a video of Kyle Harris when we had done that one. So it's great content creation for one. So if you haven't figured out, obviously we are moving into the conversation of live streaming drag racing. So drag racing, bracket racing, heads up, whatever you want to do. Mainly because this is a bracket racing podcast or broadcast. That's what we're talking about. So for a local race, a big money race, whatever it is, pros, cons for live streaming itself first. And then we'll get into more of the details of it for pay-per-view versus the free live streams, things like that. So obviously, Travis, because it is your event that you're putting on here soon, why you kind of gave us a little bit of a head start for it, but why the heavy push for the live stream at your events?
I think the more people that we get involved, even if they can't be there, that want to cheer on their friend, their cousin, their brother, whatever it may be. I think that's good for our sport. That's a big reason. On a promoter side of things, I plan to go to PRI this year and continue to grow the momentum that we have. We've got NGK spark plugs, we've got Meridyne fans, we've got suppliers that are actually starting to sponsor the events that we're putting on this year. And I think that this is important to them to know, do you have a live stream of any sort, to help get their products out there and show that, Western Canada and Eastern Canada and Canada as a whole, that, we might not have the population that the US do. We might not have the car counts that the US do. But we're legit. We spend money no different than the rest of every other racer does on these products. And I think it allows these companies, I don't know how you guys are, but for me, if I see somebody supporting bracket racing, I'm going to support that company. And I think that we're all kind of that same mentality. So I think it helps these companies, and I think it just brings value to the racer as well, right? So I just think that it's one of those things, we're halfway through 2022. Before we know it, we're going to be in 2023. And I think with all the technology that we have at our fingertips, I just believe that you should be able to log on to YouTube and watch your friends race, or, Ryan, a guy like Ryan, who's on the show tonight. There's probably going to be some people on the East Coast that of Canada that didn't really know who he was before tonight. Now they get to log on and watch and see how Ryan does at the Classics this year, and vice versa, right?
Yeah. So that's kind of exactly where I wanted to go. Andrew, just before we go to you, because I kind of know your opinion on the live stream. You've done it and attempted it at a time before the technology is where it is today. But for Ryan, for watching the live stream events, and I think we're going to have a similar opinion of it. I really watch certain ones, such as like the Flings, for example, because that's the best example in bracket racing right now, where you watch these live streams and these events, and then that is a selling feature for why you want to go there, because of what it means, right? You want to be on the live, you want, to get to the round of 16 and have all your friends at home watching and everybody seeing it, and that excitement, it really adds another level of prestige to it. Or, kind of, what do you think on it, Ryan, from a racer perspective and for somebody that just loves the sport?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, Brandon, I for sure just think it adds a whole nother level of prestige just to, everyone wants to be on a live stream, I remember would have been 2 years ago, for example, I was watching my buddy Cooper Chun at the Fling, and he got down to 16 cars on Wednesday, and I was just like, man, this is so cool. Like, I wish that was myself there. Like, just in my opinion, just totally adds a whole different level of prestige. And that is what I believe live streaming, it just enhances the racing experience and just takes it to another level.
Absolutely. So it can be good and bad. I know personal experience. I was in Namibia, talking about 1,000 feet earlier. You kind of get lost at 1,000 feet. My opponent broke and did not leave the stage bulbs, and I drove her out and broke it out on the live stream. So it can be good and bad. There's pros and cons.
Well,
there's
we all watched last year. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, there's nothing like getting back to the pit area and seeing your phone blowing up because of a great round win, or getting blown up because you're just an idiot.
Yeah,
and done that too.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Well,
it's exciting and exhilarating.
Yeah, and we all watched last year that we're not going to name names, but everybody's going to know who I talk about when I say this. If Motor Mania wasn't a thing, there's a certain decorated bracket racer that probably wouldn't be suspended this year. Right. So it's good and bad, but you got to pay the consequences if you want to be on the biggest stage in bracket racing.
That's right, because all the eyes really are on you, and everybody can see it, and everybody can replay it, and take video record it or screen record it, and then it can be out for everywhere.
Well, is Johnny Ezel's bracket, the light flicker, is it as famous if it's not on live stream? Like, does anyone even know about it outside of those who go to the race?
No, I think you can. It might be more of a myth thing, but like to watch it there is like, you know, your heart skips a beat when you're just watching at home. You're not even in the other lane.
Yeah.
Right.
At the fling in Vegas was when I saw they first played. They had the flings interviews with a couple different people there, and they had one with Johnny, and he was saying that the first time he saw Troy or Gary, I forget who he said, he saw Troy or Gary Williams do it. I forget where he said, but he, like, before like anyone really even, like, Motor Mania wasn't even really big into the bracket racing side of things yet. They were mainly heads up at the time. And he said, like, no one even really knew. And he said that he figured it out in his head how it worked, but still, like, without Motor Mania, no one would know what it even was, for sure.
Absolutely. So it is a game changer that way. So Andrew, we've got the other 2 points. Kind of like, what's your take on live stream versus no live stream?
It's big. Like when we ran our race series, so we ran it from 2012 to 2015. Back then, no one was doing much, right? Like it was very much in its infancy. In fact, Motor Mania was, they actually were coming up here doing OSCA races at Toronto Motorsports Park before they were Motor Mania. And Mark Walter and his wife Joanne, like, they were a fixture here. So when I saw that, I was like, you know what? There got to be a way to get this figured out, because if I can get this online, I feel the legitimacy of what I'm doing is amplified, right? And by no means was what we put together of any near the quality of what you see now. I was, in all honesty, it was a laptop with a desktop Zoom camera, basically, if you would describe it now, hooked up to the microphone system, so that when Rob Potter and Bill Richards were announcing at Cayuga, we were getting that feed in. They definitely learned to keep their mics turned on and off. Even stuff that couldn't be caught on the amplifier for the system would be picked up by the laptop. I did get some crap for that sometimes, but they were great to get. But we were able to live stream it, and it was fantastic. We had lots of family and friends who had never seen family and friends, like their family and friends, race, because we were able to put it on there. It was spotty. It wasn't, like internet sensitivity. I mean, 10 years ago, the internet was not what it is now, even, right? What you can get on your phone was, amazing package for a landline back then. But it really added a lot to what we did. When we couldn't do a live feed at certain events because of different reasons, we had messages saying, like, what's going on? Why isn't this up? And they weren't racers at home. They were honestly some fans and fans of racers. So I always earmarked it as a big part. Like if I was going to do something down the road again, I really, really wanted to make sure we had that. And as the technology's gotten better to do it, I think it's become a little easier. I won't say it's any more cost effective. Travis is aware of this as he's preparing to put this on, and any other promoter in the US will tell you the same thing. When Motor Mania says, thanks to the sponsors for bringing this to make it live, that's not them just saying, thanks to sponsors. Like legitimately, there is big money in doing that. But I think there's big value in it, and you see it every weekend. It's if it's not on in your TVs at home, I'm sure it's at least on your phones as you're doing something, right? Like every racer I've ever talked to is watching something sometime. Flow, right, which is the pay-per-view version that we can talk about here later. If you go on there and look at dirt track and stock car racing, it seems like every dirt track in America is on Flow. And I think there's a reason for that, right? But I think that big reason is that if they can do it and they can get their product out, why wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And you are absolutely correct, because you showed me, or we went on the Flow website together and looked through, and unless there's a million dirt tracks, then a good 50% of them,
they're on there.
They're on there.
Oh,
they
yeah.
absolutely are, and they are live every Saturday night.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Highlighting all their star racers, right, for their local track. It's been fun to watch, honest to God. Like, I'm not a big stock car dirt track guy because I grew up in the drag racing world, but honestly, in the middle of February, turn it on, there's no drag racing. Everything's on there running that's running in the South. And you look at this and go, almost, why aren't we doing this to an extent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As drag racing in general, but I mean, even as a Canadian motorsports, right, which you really don't see much done on. Why aren't we doing this more for even the big events?
Correct. Absolutely. Because there's big opportunity for that. So kind of moving into the flow racing idea for people who have never seen flow sports or flow racing or paid attention to it. So very similar to the Motor Mania stuff where they stream the races. So flow, you have to pay a subscription fee. Not 100% sure on what that is, but you can do yearly, I believe, for all that. And then that gets you into like access to like everything the flow does, not just like you can pay for this one event. Like some spots might be pay-per-view per event, but most of it now is just for a complete subscription to it. So like PDRA stuff does all that, right? What else does that? There's a bunch of the heads up stuff that all does it. Not a whole lot of bracket racing that is pay-per-view. There we go. Mike says flow is 190.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So
it gets access to a lot of stuff too. But and like you on there, you can watch ECHL hockey, right? Talking to our hockey fans in the world on the broadcast here, right? Like it's but the point being, like, it's a pay-per-view setup, right? And the events you typically see on there from a drag racing standpoint are the higher end ticket events, like the stuff where for the most part you're going to see like a spectator ticket, actually be sold for. So they're trying to garner the folks, like us four in here who aren't likely heading down to South Georgia Motorsports Park in February to watch a duck race, or to Virginia for the PDRA World Finals, but want to be in on the live action, right? And there's I think a time and a place for that type of thing. Like, I don't know if you could pay per view a big money bracket race, like the SFG 1.1. I don't know if that would fly. I bought it because I like watching the PDRA, Funny Car Chaos, things like that. They're show like deals, but it's you're seeing more of the events on there, which means it is a marketplace that seems to be taking off, right?
Trav, what do you think on that for live streaming events? Yours obviously is going to be free, just on YouTube, whether that's on the Rad Torque page, on Bracket Life page. Like, so we're going to try and work something out with that. But kind of what's your take for more time it's specific to the bracket racing scene?
I personally think that for bracket racing, it should be free. I share the same opinion with Andrew. If you've got some pro mods there, or some of these streetcar super national stuff like that, some of those types of programs, I think it's a bit of a different audience, especially with what Street Outlaws and stuff like that has done for the sport. I think there's more of a market there. But I personally don't think, I don't think that for a bracket race, for, people to watch grassroots bracket racing going on, no matter what the purse is, because it's all grassroots in my mind, is that should be free to the viewer. And whether that's promoters that have to step up and foot that bill, sponsors that have to step up and foot that bill, or you just work with what you have, like we're going to do in Edmonton. To give you kind of a little bit of background on the live feeds, like Edmonton Oil City Classic, that one's going to be on their YouTube page. That's going to be, free of charge. That's track equipment. The West Coast Classic out in Mission, they've bought a bunch of stuff just recently, and I think we just need to pay people to be there and man the cameras for the day. So that one I believe is going to be, a little bit more Motor Mania type production, and that one's obviously going to have a little bit bigger bill. And then the final stop in Medicine Hat for the Western Canadian Summer Classic, we're going to get HN Live, which is similar to a flow. They do a lot of junior hockey, a lot of sporting events out in this side of the country. They got into it through Keith Peterson, who runs the West Coast Pro Mods, which is kind of a pro mod association on this side. They got into it with him and did a really good production, a lot of different cameras, drones, stuff like that. I told him, I said, I think we just need to, keep it simple and go with a static camera and a manned one. No different than, and basically I did. I sent them Bang Shift's YouTube page. I sent them Motor Mania's YouTube page, and I said, this is what we need to emulate. And I think that will make a good production. And the one reason why I want to step up, we did get a sponsor. JS Power Sports is going to help out with the cost of that. They're not going to cover all of it, but TNT is going to cover the rest of it, because there's going to be a lot of things decided that weekend. It's going to be the last stop of our first 3 race, series, which, we have $10,000 on the line for the winner and top bulb in the shootout series. We have $5,000 on the line for the winner of the bottom bulb shootout series and stuff like that. And I just think that, it's going to tell a story, and we need to tell that story, even if it costs us a little bit of money to do it,
And that's a great point, because we talked about that earlier in the year when we had John, a little bit about the stories behind kind of why we're doing the Bracket Life broadcast. But you're very much right. Like, these live streams bring stories to the forefront that may not get heard, or, wait till, we talk to someone like you, or you talk to someone else about great Canadian racing stories that just don't get talked about because they have to make their way through networks, where now you can get it live, right? And great announcers will unfold that story for you. There's been lots of races I've watched where they unfold what's happening, and you're enthralled, you're in. It's you're invested in this, and it's fantastic, right? To be part of, or to watch, right, and feel like you're part of. So it makes a lot of it brings a lot of folks together on these type deals, right? And sucks them in on the interest in what you're doing and what you're putting together.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. So Ryan, what do you think about the pay-per-view kind of deal from a racer perspective? Is that something like that you would watch for it, or do you watch the PDRA stuff on there with the flow?
Yeah, a little bit of PDRA stuff here and there. Based on what Travis said, though, I do agree with Trav and Andrew. Just based on the fact that you're targeting 2 different audiences. Sure, there will be some carryover here and there, a little bit. Some bracket guys watch some PDRA, some PDRA guys watch some bracket stuff, vice versa. Bracket racing stuff, I find that majority of bracket racing stuff, bracket racers pay for bracket racing. We don't have the eyes of a NHRA Camping World Series event where you have 20,000 people in the stands. Like a bracket race, us bracket racers, we pay for what we pay for our payouts. We have to kind of fund our own program, where I find with NHRA stuff or with PDRA stuff, it's just a completely different audience where you're going to have people that want to watch, whether that's in the stands or pay to watch it online.
Yeah, that's a great point with bracket racers paying for their own way, essentially, that we don't really like Travis. I'm sure when you make the purse for all your classic races, that you're not banking on, oh, this many spectators are going to come and this is how I'm going to get that purse, right? Or this is how I'm going to pay, the show car, for example. And that's where the spectators come in, is they need to pay for the show cars. They need to pay for the show, where, bracket racers make their own show, right? And the show is the big check at the end of the day, or whatever that may be. So no, that's a great point for the difference between the 2 kinds of races, and kind of why pay-per-view, at least I think all 4 of us are on the same page that it won't work for what we're trying to do. But, who knows it? I'm sure there are some that it will work with. And then if a platform like Flow had, PDRA, and then say SFG got on it, for example, and then whatever else, and then it was really worth your while for the $190, that you had, say, 5 different platforms or series that were all doing it. They were high caliber stuff. Maybe still not like show cars, but something that we're all going to watch, right? We're all going to watch the OG million at the end of the year. We're all going to watch all the fling events, and then the SFG stuff when it comes around, the 1.1 and stuff like that. So that's all.
I'll jump in here real quick on this, and I'll throw this out there. We all watched the Spring Fling Million. I mean, I imagine everyone here saw part of that. Travis, I know you were at it, but I don't know if you went back and watched any of the production on that one at all. But I got to admit that they did something different this year with running Bank Shift as well as Drag Racer TV, Warren Evans, and they did a hybrid. And I got to admit, I mean, you watch a lot of racing, and there's times where a great stream can be a little rough with a rough announcer, and a rough stream can be pretty good with a good announcer. And they've got great announcers flat out at the Spring Fling events. And the production they did, that was the first one I watched where I said, I'd pay for this. Like, they were just starting to fringe on something I felt was edited enough, planned enough, put together enough that, like, if this was pay-per-view or became pay-per-view, I'd be in on this, because it started to actually feel a lot like a real production, right? Not that I'm taking anything away. I don't want to be negative. It's not my intent at all, because all the racing I watch, I think we just lost Travis, I guess, on signal there. At all, because Motor Mania is fantastic. Bank Shift on its own has been fantastic. I'll watch them all. But Peter and the Fling crew did a great job with it. And if that's the level of production that we start to move towards in bracket racing for the actual race and the watching, and the downtime between runs where they're running interviews with Johnny Azell and I'm drawing a blank now. He did a whole bunch of people, right? But Peter going around, like, I would pay for that. I would pay for a subscription, right? Because I sat down and I actually watched it. It wasn't just background, with, round 6 is up, and watch it for the 15 minutes that round 6 ran, and then you'll go back to doing something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
I legitimately was in watching it like I would have watched a playoff game or, anything else that was on TV and live, right? So as we move towards that, maybe that's where pay-per-view comes in. And maybe that's where that return on investment comes from for promoters and operators as they look at that, is going, okay, if we can get this setup where we can get a good production, there is a couple dollars to be had there, right? I was kind of leaning towards getting Travis's take on that before we accidentally lost him there, because he's getting into that. So
I just got a message from him. He said his power went out at the house.
Oh, so he's in the dark.
Yes, he is. He is now currently in the dark.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
At least he's got sunlight for a little bit longer. Oh, we got him back.
On the topic of live streams, another person that comes to mind, live streaming his own events, is Thomas Gallstar TV.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did watch his race that he hosted. Where did he host it?
The 311 races.
Yeah, the 311 grand one. That I watched a little bit of his production. Now he does have his own platform to do it on.
Yeah. And it was pretty good.
It was a really good job that was his second live stream I think he's done, or third live stream, because he broadcasted a couple last year, I think, for promoter one in Cedar Falls, I think, and another track over there, and that he's doing a really good job himself, comparable to Motor Mania or Bang Shift or the best of them,
Yeah, and he hit it pretty hard with he had 2 manned cameras moving.
Yeah.
Right? Like, a lot of coordination.
Yeah. Back to the higher production value look of that movement of what you'd see from a bigger production set, right?
Yeah. So I know, Andrew, you had a kind of a comment or a question for Travis before, unfortunately lost power. Obviously the power's back on for Travis, and
I think we might have lost him again there now that I'm looking at it.
A little bit now, but before we kind of really roll through this and all of a sudden it becomes a 2-hour show, this is a great topic, right? I think, hopefully everybody enjoyed it, loved talking about it. We'll kind of wrap it up now. We can continue this on if this comes back up. I'm sure, in 2 weeks or in the following time, this will all happen again. We'll see when Travis is done, how his experience was with the live stream stuff. I'm excited to hear about it when you go to the other event or other tracks where they have a new setup that you were talking about, because on Rad Torquing and see their production. Now let's see what everybody else does. And I'd love to, I'd obviously love to try and get into it myself with Bracket Life. So we'll kind of see where it goes, right? Lots of opportunity. But either way, thank you guys. Sorry, moved around. I thought I was froze there for a sec. Thank you guys very much for coming on, Andrew, Ryan, Travis. I appreciate it all the time and effort you guys put into this to help us out, help share Bracket Life, continue to grow Canadian drag racing. So thank you very much, especially Ryan, coming on. Congratulations on the success.
Thank you, sir.
Hopefully keep it up, keep it rolling.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We should probably, before you go, if there's anybody else that you wanted to thank for all the help, support, whatever,
Yeah, for sure. My mom and dad, Darren and Annette O'Connor, Kim and Jason Pad, huge help giving me a place to stay all winter, going to post-secondary for school, getting an education. Poplar Meadows, Angus, Rod and Cream Belsham, Bob Eberts, Eberts Bros Racing, whole bunch of Challenger Downhole Tools, Sean Tracy, whole bunch of people that I just couldn't do it without. Their generosity means a lot to me. So just, if I forgot anyone, I'm sorry, but yeah, everyone that gives me a hand, I can't thank you guys enough.
Absolutely. Awesome, bud. And you need everybody, right? We need all the help we can get growing up in the sport, getting to do it, and getting to that certain point. Andrew, anything else before we finish her out?
Yes. I got a message for results, St. Thomas. I threw the call out there. The audience responded back to me from the lack of results I had from the opening weekend. Michelle Henderson. She was at one of the champions, at the Night of Champions back at the car show in Toronto. Runner-up Saturday in Street and winner on Sunday in Street. So I just want to give a shout out to them because they got back to me and told me what was going on. So thank you to the audience for fixing my mistakes as I go along through this and bumble my way through another broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely. We always appreciate it. Everybody coming on and being a part of it. Trav, anything else to finish out?
No, sorry about the technical difficulty tonight, guys. And thanks for everything you do. I think we're shedding some light on some important things. And I'll be excited to report back on the different challenges and the things that I learned from the live stream side of things. It's a challenge that I'm eager for. I just appreciate every time you guys ask me to come on.
Absolutely. And we appreciate your time and always, wanting to be a part of it. So I'll see you. Rachel did send me the update on that 15 days before I fly out. Right. Give or take 15 days, I guess, because we're supposed to have dinner that night, right? I think there's a steak dinner set up for us the Wednesday night we roll in. So I'll see you then.
100%.
Ryan, I'll see you shortly after that at the racetrack. Andrew, eventually I will run into you at a racetrack.
At some point here. The same event we keep talking about, Luskville, Bracket Bonanza, week-long racing. It's
race week. That's
race
right.
Week. That's it.
So thanks again. Thanks to all our supporters, everybody watching live, everybody who's going to watch this after, everybody who comments. We appreciate it. It makes it go by. We really enjoy doing it. So it means a lot to us. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, sign up for the Bracket Life Bulletin, the email newsletter on the website. Check out all the new stuff, new clothes, different colors. The navy blue is excellent. Looks
That's
great.
a nice shirt. It's a really nice shirt. Yeah. I had it on Saturday. It was perfect.
Yes, sir. So, check that stuff all out. Thanks again. We'll see you in 2 weeks with the last broadcast before I go out west. And what we're talking about, we're not sure, but we'll let you know.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good one, and we'll be talking to you.
What we got now is 4 Super Pro dragsters doing well. We're on our best season ever. Ashley's leading the points. We're all in the top 10. We got a couple races left this summer, so I'm really excited about the future.